So, the enzymes present in the pancreatic juice are amylopsin, then trypsin, and steapsin. The first one, amylopsin, that is a pancreatic amylase. It digests the leftover starch into maltose. Then trypsin. Trypsin is initially secreted in the form of an inactive trypsinogen. That is, it is secreted in the form of trypsinogen. And this trypsinogen is converted into active trypsin by an enzyme called as enterokinase, or also named as enteropeptidase, and this is present in the intestinal juice. So the intestinal juice, which contains the enterokinase, it helps to convert the trypsinogen into trypsin, and then this trypsin, it digests or it converts the peptides into smaller amino acids. And steapsin, which is a lipase, it acts on fats and it converts them into fatty acids and glycerols. That is, it does the work of breaking the fats into fatty acids and glycerols, which are already emulsified by the prior juices. Here you can see the detailed account of all those enzymes. That is, enterokinase converts trypsinogen, enterokinase converts trypsinogen into trypsin, then trypsin converts proteins into smaller peptides and amino acids. Proteins are converted into smaller peptides, and then peptides are converted into amino acids. Then amylase. Amylase converts leftover starch into maltose. Steapsin converts emulsified fats into fatty acids and glycerol. So in this manner, the chemical digestion of food gets completed in the intestine, but this is only by pancreatic juice. Now moving further to the adaptations of the ileum for absorption of digested food. The adaptation of ileum is, it is very long and narrow. And because it is long and narrow, the food flows through or passes through it at a very slow pace and remains in it for a longer period of time. So the absorption by the villi is possible. And moreover, it has a large number of finger-like structures. And those finger-like structures which help to absorb the food. And they are covered by a single layer of epithelium which helps in easy diffusion of food across the membrane. Now, whatever food is digested, to bring about the absorption, the efficient absorption, you can say, there are small finger-like folds, the longitudinal folds which are present in the walls of the intestine, the small intestine, which are called as villi. They increase the surface area for absorption. And each villi, as you can see in the diagram, it is having an elaborate network of blood capillaries and unbranched lymph vessel. In the center, you can see the lacteal, which is mentioned, the skin color, that is the lymph vessel called the lacteal. And you can see the blood capillaries also entering and coming out of the villus. So, all the digested food material like glucose, fructose, galactose, amino acids, minerals, vitamins, they all diffuse from the digested food into the blood capillaries across the single layer of epithelium. You can see the purple color single layer of cells, that is a thin epithelium. So, from the digested food through the epithelium, the food diffuses in and goes into the blood capillaries. And whatever fats are there, those fats, see, absorbs fatty acids and glycerol. Those fats are absorbed by this lacteal. This is the lacteal, which belongs to the lymphatic circulatory system. Then comes absorption. That is, this villi only helps in absorption. What is absorption actually? It is the diffusion of digested food through the internal lining of the alimentary canal into the blood and the lymph. So, when the food gets absorbed, it then passes it through the various parts of the body. And this absorption, after it is done, this diagram what shows you the hepatic portal system. So the absorption, once it is done from the gut, that is the stomach as well as the small intestine. Okay, the blood vessel goes, it starts in the capillaries, you can see here, and then it goes to the liver and breaks again into capillaries. So this is the blood vessel which starts in capillaries and ends also in capillaries. It is called as the hepatic portal vein. Once what it does, the importance is it collects all the digested food, that is from the alimentary canal, and it carries the blood with the digested food to the liver. The liver then monitors how much of glucose is needed by the body, how much of proteins are needed by the body, and only that much quantity is circulated into the bloodstream. Excess is not sent into the bloodstream. It is then either stored in the various other forms of food for storage, or else it is broken down. Like excess proteins can never be stored in the body for a longer period of time. As and when how much is required, only that is utilized, and the remaining is broken down into waste. Some part of protein is converted into glycogen and stored. The remaining proteins, the excess proteins, are broken down. That is called as deamination, converted into ammonia and then into urea and uric acid. In the same manner, excess of glucose is converted into glycogen and stored in the liver. That is with the help of hormones, but the liver does that work. That is why liver is called as the chemical factory of the body, which helps to control all the chemicals as well as the food materials in the body. So this is the importance of the hepatic portal vein. It takes all the digested material, goes to the liver, and the liver then directs it into the bloodstream. And all the fats are then absorbed into the lacteal from the digested food. And at present now in the small intestine, the food which is digested completely with the gastric juice, the bile juice, the pancreatic juice, and the intestinal juice, that is now called as chyle. So remember, this is the third term which you come across. In the mouth it is bolus, in the stomach it is called as chyme, chyme, and now it is called as chyle. In this diagram you can see the lacteal. So here the fatty acids and the glycerols, they recombine to form the fat molecules, and they enter into the lacteals, and that goes into the bloodstream further. Then coming to the part where you have the junction of the large intestine and the small intestine. And that junction of the large intestine and the small intestine, it is a structure which forms like a small blind pouch, and that is appendix. So from that region, that is a rounded blind sac-like structure which measures about only 6 centimeters in length, there arises a worm-like structure which is called as vermiform appendix. Actually it is just appendix, but why it is named as vermiform? Because it is a vestigial organ now. It is 3 to 8 centimeters in length. It is a vestigial organ. Why? Because it does not have any function in the present man. In the olden days, when man was surviving on raw food, majority of the food items what man consumed was completely raw. In those days, this appendix had bacteria and protozoa, and those would help to digest all the cellulose, that is the cell wall of the plant food. It would digest the cellulose, and that would help to further digest it in the intestine. But as man started cooking and eating food, the cellulose, that is the raw food, went on decreasing, and hence this appendix lost its function. That is why it is called as vestigial organ. Then coming to the large intestine, the ileum, it enters into the wider tube, and that tube we call it as large intestine. It measures about 1.5 meters in length, and it is differentiated into 3 parts, as you can see it labeled in the diagram. First you have the caecum, then you have the colon, and then the rectum. Okay, here you can see them labeled in a different pattern: ascending colon, transverse colon, and descending colon. And the rectum is a bag-like structure which stores the fecal matter. So this large intestine is 1.5 meters long. Okay, the caecum, it is almost a small The caecum is almost a small rounded blind sac measuring about 6 centimeters in length. From the caecum arises the vermiform appendix. And then you have it continuing further in the form of colon, the largest part of the small intestine, and it is sacculated in appearance. The function of colon is absorption of large amount of water. So what it does is, it goes on, the colon is the largest part of the large intestine and it is sacculated in appearance. The function of colon is to absorb large amount of water from the undigested matter. The chyle, what comes out, that is the liquid form of food, that is then converted into a semi-solid food by absorbing more and more water from the undigested matter. And that helps to make the food matter, that is the undigested matter, bulky. And then it is stored in the last part, that is the rectum. The rectum is about 12 centimeters long and it is a S-shaped tube that opens to the outside in the form of anus. Here you can see the rectum shown, 15 to 12 centimeters long. And this has a sphincter which keeps it closed. Okay, the second diagram shows you all the three parts properly, the colon, the rectum as well as the anus. So the food is undigested matter is stored there. What is the anus then? It is the opening of the alimentary canal at the lower end and it is the ending part of the alimentary canal. It is bounded by a sphincter which is meant for passing out of fecal matter, that is the undigested material, and that process is called as egestion. Then comes to defecation. What is meant by defecation? Once the contents of the food becomes semi-solid, they are then thrown out of the body. They pass into the rectum and then they are thrown out into the body from time to time. That process is termed as defecation. So the process or the pathway of the food is shown in this schematic diagram. The mouth, which involves the ingestion and chemical digestion. Then the food goes into the esophagus, from the esophagus to the stomach. In the stomach, there is again chemical digestion as well as mechanical digestion. Then from there, the food goes into the small intestine. Small intestine involves mainly the chemical digestion as well as absorption of food. From there to the large intestine. In the large intestine, it is absorption of water to make the undigested matter bulky, and from there it is stored into the rectum and eliminated out of the body through the anus. This chart here shows you the digestion process by enzymes. See the carbohydrates. They are broken down by amylase, which are the enzymes which act on carbohydrates. It's amylase, sucrase, maltase, lactase. They all break the carbohydrate into sugar. Then proteins are broken down into amino acids by pepsin, trypsin and peptidase. And the oil or the fats are broken down into fatty acids by lipase. So this is just a general structure showing you which enzyme acts on which food. But the total detailed process, you'll have to go through the lesson properly and find out. Okay. So these are the digestive enzymes produced by the pancreas: lipase, amylase and trypsin. Thank you, children. Please read the textbook and be clear with the topic. You can approach for any doubts.